So I would like to welcome our next speaker, Christian Zakarian. So Deep, can Chris join us? Mhm.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah,
has
hi
already
everyone.
joined. Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Hi,
here.
hi, CJ. Very nice.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you doing? I know
I'm good.
I talked to you. I met you in Riyadh sometime long back. So
Yes, you
how are
did.
you? Yeah.
I'm
So
good.
it
I'm
was
good. What about you?
long. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
it was late at Prashant. It's a bit it's not early, but it's morning here in Kuwait.
Yeah.
So we're
Thank
catching
you.
4 or 5 time zones.
So thank you, CJ. I call you CJ, Christian Zakarian. Thank you for joining us. Let me give a quick introduction to CJ. So the topic Chris will talk is the supply chain planning, which is one of my favorite topic, and I've been leading supply chain planning team for quite a long time, and it's one of my very favorite topic, my interest, and also I enjoy reading and listening to supply chain planning at any time. So let me give a quick introduction to Christian Zakarian. So basically, yeah, Christian Zakarian is a senior consultant and supply chain expert based in Kuwait, a results-driven leader in supply chain, logistics, and distribution, adept at implementing business strategies and systems. So CJ is expert in operation scalability, high performance team transformation, and digitization processes. So skilled in integrated supply chain and value chain management, ensuring end-to-end solutions for complex operations. So fantastic. So I would like to hear you, Chris, talking about supply chain planning.
Sure.
So thank you for joining, and over to you, Chris, please.
Thank you.
You can start your presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good morning, whatever. Good night, maybe some people. How can I share my screen, by the way?
Yeah, there is a share button in the.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to click it. Just a second. Share, and window. Okay. Can you see?
Yeah. We can see you.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Because I cannot see you now. I'm only seeing my screen, which is the presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
No problem. Yeah, we can see you. Yeah. Please
Beautiful.
continue. Your picture
Very
will be
good.
there.
So,
Yeah, go
sure. So I will be presenting something about supply chain planning. Supply chain planning is a big world. Supply chain planning can be in your own small supply chain operation, distribution center, in your own market. It can be global, it can be regional, it can be so many things. And the presentation I chose to do for this event, and I thank you, by the way, Sheikh, Abdul Sheikh, and everybody for including me in that. I want to keep things simple as much as possible and very down to earth. Yeah, and I will explain to you why I'm doing this, because from my experience, we have to keep things simple. And as Prashant said before, the previous speaker, if the data is not there, nothing is there. So we have to keep it simple. So just quick thing about me. Thank you for introducing me, Sheikh. You don't have to read, just listen. So I started in supply chain for 7-8 years as a consultant, project management systems, WMS, ERP integration. So if you want the back end systems, processes, data was with me. And then I moved to operation, managing large operations like Procter & Gamble, like Nestle, like 3PL, 4PL, all kind of logistics platform and planning. And then the last thing I did was I was a head of supply chain planning in a big food company, FMB. So I kind of passed, I kind of went through the whole thing from systems consultancy, building structure of supply chain, to being inside the supply chain and operation, and then to being a customer of my own previous role. I had 3PLs working for me, let's say, or working with me. And lately I moved to being more of a consultant advisory. I created something called Go for X More. which is, you want to go 4 times more in your supply chain. You want to, scalability, you want to expand, you want to teach people how to think differently. Yeah. So this is me. I'm very much into innovation. I'm a continuous improvement mindset. So this is sometimes it's a headache because you have to continuously think about what to improve, and sometimes improvement takes time. Okay, and that's it. So to be able to do the 1 hour presentation, I kind of split it into different brackets of time. So I have a few minutes for some ideology, some go-to guidelines, which is very important, and you will see that the simplicity of how do you think is very important. Then we're going to talk about assessing and planning your supply chain. How do you see your current supply chain planning in terms of performance, maturity? And then we're going to spend about 50 minutes about how do you make sure you internally and you externally collaborate with your customers, suppliers, external, internal, because everything is linked together. You cannot just run your supply chain in a silo, and you're not connected in a very strong way with others. And then last thing, some technicalities about supply planning, some simple formulas. How do you calculate your target cover, your lead time? Some like nice to have, because it's very good for some of you to take away from this presentation something that you can maybe think about and utilize. It's not a training. It's something very straightforward you can use if you want. And again, I'm going to repeat it one more time. Keep things simple. Sometimes you can do planning in a very simple way. Sometimes it's complicated. Okay, is it fine? I think like this, splitting it like that. It's okay. We go ahead. Okay. I can't hear anybody, so I'm gonna continue.
Yes, you may go ahead, please.
Okay. You can notice, gentlemen, that there's a chess. It's a chess game, right? Chessboard. I consider supply chain or maybe any operation as a chessboard, as a chess game, because you have different elements. You have the small. Sorry, I don't know the name in English. You have the pawn, you have the king, you have the queen, you have the tower. I don't know what you call it. It's a game where you have lots of strategy, and every small different element has his own role. There is the small soldiers, or those things here on the bottom left, and you can see that you can grow very fast if you have a proper supply chain. Every element, every person working in supply chain can be the king every time, and the whole purpose of that is to win that game, not to beat the competition, but to win the game of strategic planning and supply chain execution. That's why I consider it as a chess game. Some ideologies and go-to guidelines. So I believe that supply chain performance and three things define it. You have SSS and CCC, just something I invented. Supply chain, let's say. You should have smart supply strategies, and you should be consistently collaborating and controlling what you do. This defines a supply chain performance and define how much your organization is successful. It's all about this. You have to have, because supply chain has the word supply, right? Supply means supplier, yeah, or sourcing supplier. So it has to always, you have to keep focus on your suppliers and supply, and you have to consistently control it. It's not like, yeah, we have a good deal with the supplier, we import from, I don't know what, I have a good logistic provider, I have a good distribution. No. It's consistently looking at your supply chain performance and supply chain planning. And they say, I want to apply best practices. Best practice means, yeah, what's my best practice for receiving in my warehouse? What's best practice to work with logistic providers, freight forwarders? How do we deal with them? What data exchange? At the end of the day, best practices are great to have, are great to refer to. You can try to use them, but first, and I believe the previous speaker mentioned it, first you have to make sure your people, you enable them or you mandate them to have a data and an analytical mindset. Supply chain is all about numbers. It's all about data. It's about things connected to other things. So you have to make sure your people are data driven. Of course, you have to make sure the data exists. That's number one. You have to have proper systems. You can have simple systems. You can have very sophisticated, state-of-the-art SAP, Oracle, I don't know, Infor WMS, whatever. But you can also have a simple system with the right data. And then you have to make sure you transform your supply chain into a flexible, adaptable, and resilient. This is something I kind of created. You can see flexible, adaptable, resilient structure. Because in the world of supply chain currently, since COVID, everything went online, everything went B2C, e-com. The world was deglobalized during the virus and then globalized again, if you think about it. Deglobalized mean everything was shut down. And it was good, by the way. I don't know if somebody will agree. I prefer deglobalized. But globalization is something that will not stop. And it's getting more challenging, more interesting, but more difficult at the same time. One small problem in the Suez Canal between Africa and Saudi Arabia shuts down the whole thing and makes the prices increase like crazy. China increased their volume inbound, no containers in the world, no dry containers in the States. You know what happened before. So you have to always keep in mind how to be flexible, adaptable, and resilient. And this is not a system or a software or a supply chain structure. This is people managing the supply chain and with your partners. And then you have to assure, and this is maybe weird to some of you, or this is something common. You have to assure this mentality exists in your. Most probably, you have 3 generations in your company. You have the Gen X managing the exec level. You have the millennials. Gen X are people who are 40 to 55. Millennials are 30 to 40, and Gen X are the people who are recently joined the job. These people have different mentality. These people are slow and fast. Some of them are slow, some of them are fast. I'm sure we have Gen Z and millennials, or millennials and Gen X in this presentation or this. So you have to make sure people are talking the same language, because there are clashes of generation. Why I'm mentioning this? Because definitely in supply chain, whether it's a small one or a big one, you have different mindset of people who think they know it all, and people who are very excited, the new ones with their ideas, and they just studied something, and maybe they are doing AI courses. All have to mix to become flexible, adaptable, and they have to be data and analytical minded. I always suggest to keep things simple, while the devil is in the details. I always love to use this in my consultancy courses. Keep it simple means it's, you can take it as subtle, the tip of the iceberg, but the devil is in the iceberg itself. And devil is in the details means data. It's all about data. And this is like just something to have fun with. So they say just do nothing. It's impossible to join them. You have to just do it. Sometimes you just have to do it, fail or win. Nothing is impossible. Just go for it. And you don't have to be worried about making a mistake or, doing a project, trying, because nothing is impossible. You just have to go for it. Okay. Quickly, Einstein was asked one time, how do you resolve a problem? Because they said, you're so smart, you can resolve the problem quickly. No, he said he spends 55, if you have 1 hour to solve a problem, he spends 55 minutes thinking, deep diving, dissecting the problem, and then 5 minutes about the solution, because it's all about the details, as I mentioned before. Dive into the data, dive into the bits and pieces, and you never know where you can find something, small improvement that will give a huge effect when you apply it across your data and your supply chain. Complexity is your enemy. Any fool can make something complicated. Keep things simple, because it's so easy to complicate things and then you end up not knowing how to measure them. I'm talking about like a new KPI. You invented a new KPI that can measure something, but this something is not really useful for you, doesn't add value, but it's nice to have. Your essential KPIs are very important in supply chain planning. People like KPIs. I have dashboards. I have a lot of things. Okay, but then what? You have to make sure you do's and don'ts in supply chain KPI. You have to make sure you don't selectively choose KPIs and metrics that makes you look good. Yeah, we have all the measures. We're good. We're managing everything. We're monitoring everything. And then what? It keeps you busy to generate those KPIs, especially if you don't have a proper dashboard system, let's say. And then you end up not being efficient. You're just having KPIs. You have to have a set of KPIs that you can monitor on a regular basis, things that can be easily measured. Because you say you improve what you measure, and data is essential. And in systems, you always have garbage in, garbage out data, right? They said you can put anything, the system will give you the same quality of data that you have put in the first place. Yeah. Your KPIs should not be very high level, like sales, or I don't know, what do you think, inventory availability or whatever. You should have KPIs that gives you, let's say, mid level monitoring and accuracy. Yeah, not very high level, not very detailed. Because if it's very high level, you might be missing the picture, the real problem. And if it's too detailed, you're not seeing the big picture. So the idea is to have the right balance. Okay, I'm gonna go on. So this is the first this kind of the second topic, which is how do you assess your current supply chain maturity? Supply chain planning, gentlemen, is all about seeing what's coming, planning ahead. Okay, you might be in a market where you're working in a small distribution, so you buy things locally, like from locally might be, for example, in India or the States or Europe, or let's say I'm in GCC, right? I'm more of my experience is more of 20 years in the Middle East, right? Say, and a bit of Europe and a bit of US, but more in the Middle East. So we have 6-7 countries in the Gulf, right? And most of you maybe know it here, or you live maybe in Dubai or in Bahrain or in Saudi. So our local market is not only the country I'm in, but the region, right? And it's a proximity, means my planning can go. I can get some things from Saudi Arabia to Dubai or vice versa in 1 month. So my vision, my horizon is 1 month of supply, let's say. You always have to keep planning ahead, not only execution. So how do you assess your maturity? A simple definition of supply chain, or a nice definition: supply chain is a complex system made of people, processes, and technology. Three things define a company. You have your people, you have the processes, which is the SOPs, the processes, all the things that are driving the business through people, and you have technologies, which is your systems. And the purpose of supply chain is to deliver value to the customer. You call it value chain. You call it sharing the cost margins, or sharing the profit between our not profit, sharing the efficiency between our customers and our supply chain. Is like, I believe in one thing, and maybe this is weird to some of you. I believe in one thing: if you able to optimize your supply chain and deliver a cheaper, more efficient value or cost to your customer, and let's say you made a drop in 2% in costs. Yeah, that's amazing for your bottom line. But you kept the prices on your customer the same. No, maybe you can give him a bit less price. Okay, you have to share this value. You know what I mean? Because this is how you anchor customers. So what I'm trying to say is supply chain can give a lot of value chain or value to the customer. And then the most important thing, supply chain is a data analytical platform. Marketing, operation, manufacturing, production, all of these environments are database, right? There's so many data in it. So supply chain is a pure data analytical platform, of course, all linked together. And if people don't see your supply chain as a platform which can bring things together, bring departments together from silos to collaboration, and it helps you boost visibility, it helps you see the information, see the data, and speed up decision making, then your supply chain is not seen as it is, as it should be seen properly. A nice saying: if you torture the data long enough, it will confess to anything. This is something I love, like, torturing, prisoners, to confess to what they did as a crime, or if they are not innocent. The same thing, just keep on torturing the data, keep on deep diving in it, yeah, and you will see things. So how do you assess your supply chain maturity? I'm not sure we're on time. We're okay. Yeah. There are 4 maturity stage of your supply chain. There's the basic one, which is like supply chain is there. Everybody is working in silos. So you have your logistics maybe in one place, you have your procurement in one place, you have your warehousing, and that's in one place, kind of working together, but you're not connected to your marketing, your operation, your sales, your financial supply, your financial department. You're kind of working together, but not really together. So supply chain is only seen as a cost center. These are supply chain. They just they purchase things, they bring it, they incur cost of goods, they put it in the warehouse. There is a warehouse cost. Nobody's seeing it as an efficient place, And supply chain, the inventory is managed in a reactive mode. What do I mean by that? Okay, the marketing and sales decided, okay, let's import a new product. We have this campaign, we have whatever. Supply chain, go and get it. Okay, that's it. But we don't understand how the product will start, mature, be stable, and then maybe will be phased out eventually. Yeah, so this is very basic. Maturing and integrating supply chain. This is where the silos are reducing, the processes. The different departments are talking to supply chain in a more organized way, and supply chain is starting to be seen as a link between the product and stores. Stores means, you know, end customers or your own stores. It's not yet seen as a critical link between your product and your customer, between your source and your source means your supply, and your customer, which is the, you know, the last mile, let's say. And it's not yet seen as a major influential on the bottom line. What I mean by bottom line is not maybe the net profit of the company. I mean the cost, the gross margins, your net margins, you know, on the products. The third one is like your supply chain is maturing. It's almost fully integrated. There are no more silos. People are talking in collaboration spirit. There are strong links between finance, operations, other department, marketing and sales. You have systems, you have dashboard, you have data flowing across departments. And the most important thing, where you consider yourself as a really maturing, is when your new products, any new products you're introducing, are managed flawlessly. Everybody knows when it's coming. Everybody knows your stock levels. Everybody knows what's happening in sales or what's happening in let's say consumption from supply chain point of view. And everybody knows when this product is going to be either, you know, discontinued or maybe pushed again, or price change, promotion, whatever it is. Everything's flowing. And the last one, which is you have a very highly efficient supply chain. You're adaptable and you're resilient. If you remember, I mentioned before, you have to be flexible, adaptable, and resilient. FAR. I call it FAR, which is far. It allows you to go far, you know, far away. Just go ahead with your supply chain. This is where your supply chain is mature enough. This is where you can easily grow vertical, horizontal. You can integrate more businesses. You can expand geographically. You have a territorial expansion. You have full visibility on your upstream and downstream. This is like supply chains, like, you know, the look-alike of Amazon, Apple, maybe Microsoft and their products, you know, their laptops, maybe DHL somehow, you know, those companies that have been there for a long time, or new companies. Like, for example, in the Middle East, we have a company called Noon, right? That was kind of bought by Amazon not long time ago. But Noon is also an e-com delivery platform, and they are expanding very well. They have been doing very well. So not many companies are at that stage. And my personal opinion, gents, is like maturity of your supply chain is always between maturing or almost. Some people think, yeah, we're almost fully integrated. I think it always goes back to maturing and then almost fully integrated. And this is where I think what the previous speaker, I had a chance to listen to him to 5 minutes, Prashant, I think. He mentioned that people think, yeah, I have all the database, I have everything. And I think Sheikh mentioned that, yeah, you have the data, you have everything, but you're not really using it as a data support system. You're not really, it's just having it, nothing. It's like a showcase, you know, or like, you know, a bit showing off that you have it. You have too many KPIs for nothing. You know what I mean? Okay. Next one is like, what do you think about your supply chain performance, your planning? So you have to think strategic mindset and strategic planning and mindset. What is that? This is self-assessment, okay? And these are very important guidelines to see where you stand in terms of supply chain planning performance. Is your supply chain involved in strategic plans and goals at early stage? Means the company has this, you know, maybe board meeting or maybe a smaller meeting, depending on the size of the company, once a year, twice a year. Is supply chain involved from the beginning? Is supply chain involved and asked to get all their analytical, all their data, all their, you know, their KPIs, you know, to put that on the table and talk about it? Because something very important, gentlemen, supply chain has to say not ready or ready. Sometimes supply chain is not ready. Supply is not ready. The lead time is not good. The supplier doesn't have all the materials. It's always important to say, no, you're not ready, but you will be ready at that time. That's why strategically, by the owner of the company, whoever is managing it, they have to see supply chain. They have to ask the question, hey guys, are you okay? Let's go for it. Or you need some time. Because it's the word planning, you know, planning means there's a horizon you have to reach, but you have to be ready X month date period before that goal, right? And then is your supply chain seen as a silo, reflecting to your maturity before, with limited visibility on business metrics? I've been in companies, worked for or consulted, where supply chain doesn't know what's happening in the business, right? Let's say the warehouse or the procurement, they kind of know because they were asked to buy something, right, to purchase something. But for example, the business is expanding, they are introducing a new thing, they are going to open a new location, let's say, they are still thinking about it, but supply chain is just, we don't know, we don't have any idea, or we have a bit of idea, but nothing is structured in terms of a plan, and it's only considered as an execution. When your supply chain is only considered as an execution, okay, go and do this, get this, do that, just source, we have to source things, or get them, purchase them, then you cannot really do planning. The planning part of your supply chain, it doesn't exist, right? Or is not helping the business, right? So this is very important to assess your own supply chain.
So one just
Marketing.
a quick, sorry, CJ.
Sorry, who's this?
Yeah, since you are talking so important thing in the strategy planning process, okay. So you said one very important point that the supply chain planning must be included as part of strategy planning. Okay, so before COVID, the supply chain managers and all, they were very not so active in the strategy planning at the beginning stage. So the people start working on from the marketing side, sales side, finance. Okay, and later they include supply chain managers to validate their part, kind of thing. But now the trend has changed. Okay, supply chain management is a key competitive advantage. Okay, so in your experience while doing the strategy formulation and the strategy planning part, so do you think a trend changed globally? Mhm.
Globally is a big word, Sheikh. So I believe that think locally first and then go globally. I know that from experience, because of globalization, everybody wants to work with everybody. Everybody wants to import from everywhere. Everybody wants to sell everywhere. Yes, there is a mindset of strategic planning, uh, but I mean, to be honest, yes, it's there. People are mandated to work in a global mindset because everything is open to each other. But there are many gaps where I don't think people inform each other, companies inform each other of their problems and their hiccups on time. They just react to problems. They don't really strategically think together and agree on a set plan. Yeah, because there are so many disruptions in supply chain currently. It's not currently, since 2022, maybe since the world started again to be back on its feet. COVID is almost done. There's so many disruptions, and you guys see it like since what? Since November in the Middle East, maybe everywhere in the world, I don't know. We have problems in logistics. We have delays. We have no availability of stock. The prices are increasing like almost crazy. Jabal Ali has been the slowest port, Jabal Ali in Dubai, the slowest port since 4 or 5 months. Things are taking time. And what's happening? People are in a reactive mode, right? So, yes, there is a strategic planning mindset together, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. I'm not sure if I answered your question. Okay. Should I go on?
Yes, please.
Marketing and sales and operation planning. So, people talk about SNOP, right? It's a methodology. People learn it, part of certification. You can do if you do a certification of supply chain, CSCP or something, they teach you those things. So you have to assess, is your supply chain involved in collaborating at the early stage? I mentioned this before on the strategic level with the C-level exec team, for projects or for, yearly goals and stuff. But at the same time, is your supply chain early involved and start collaborating at the early stage of introducing new products, introducing new channel of distribution? with the proper demand and supply chain planning. Maybe you guys know planning means seeing the future, right? Somehow, or planning what's coming. Demand planning, people know it, of course, is forecasting what's coming in a number way. Supply planning, which I believe is the most important thing, supply planning actually mirrors demand, right? You have to make sure your supply mirrors what you're expecting. So involve at early stage means what? Means they ask supply chain, hey guys, this is our forecasted demand. What do you think? Is it possible? Is your supply capacity there? You know what I mean? It's not only, okay, guys, take those numbers. This is a forecast. You have any questions? No, thank you very much, and go. This usually happens between sales and operation, right? Because things are very fast these days, especially in the income business, especially in the B2B business. Or local distribution. Everybody wants to grab a market share. Everybody wants to, sell at maybe 1 cent or 10 cent or $1 more. Yeah, and that's not easy because the $1 they want to sell, the $1 they want to make as a margin more. Logically, it's coming from where? It's coming from supply. It's coming from your supply chain, right? All the way until it's delivered to the customer. So that's why it's very important all the time, to get involved in terms of supply chain planning with the marketing and sales at early stage. I've seen this many times, gentlemen, where the marketing does a plan. Yes, we're gonna sell that much. The product is amazing. They pay a lot of money on marketing and media and social media and everything, and then the calculation went wrong. They expect this product to give them a cost margin or a gross margin of X, and then because they did not consult supply chain planning properly, or supply chain were not really ready with all the information because they were not involved in the beginning, it ended up being a tiny margin and a loss, right? And it went for a month, and then they said, "Ah, man, this product did not give us the profit we want, or the expected margin we want." This is very, very important. Yeah. And especially in big companies, gentlemen, where the small numbers, like small, I don't know, $0.50 saving or $3 cost saving, these small numbers disappear in the big numbers. If your business is a multi-million-dollar business, those small details that are very, very important, they just disappear. Nobody sees them because they are so tiny. Yeah. So that's why I said before, devil is in the details. Every detail counts. Everything counts. And why this is important, sales and operation planning, because when products start not doing well, let's say, sales knows, marketing knows, your CEO knows, your director of sales knows, but they don't really know that it's costing them more and more now because it's lying in the warehouse. It's just staying there. It's very slow moving. It's taking space. And if you're renting, you're paying for the 3PL, or you're outsourcing your storage, you're paying money. But people don't see this quick enough, right? They just say, okay, the product is there, we're trying to push it more, but there's a cost. There's the working capital is becoming dead capital, which is your stock is not moving. And supply chain, is it considered as a main pillar on positive? Yeah, I think I mentioned what I discussed now because I didn't notice that I'm actually explaining what the second point, which is your supply chain is really seen as a main pillar for positive impact on gross margin, working capital, and ultimately the bottom line. The third one, and this is the most important thing in my own experience, because I have this 22 years of experience across the board, as you saw, and I've seen things, and I believe supplier is the most important thing. I think it reflects to Sheikh question before. Do you think globally we have the strategic mindset? We are nothing as a supply chain if my supplier is not on board. It's supplier. I call it supplier performance. Your supply chain has to have a very solid structure into evaluating your suppliers and controlling supplier performance based on key criteria. I mean, I went to many companies, not to work with them. I asked them, how do you evaluate your supplier? They said, yeah, they deliver on time, the price is okay, and they have a quality product. It doesn't stop there. This is quantitative, right? On time, in full. You have to have, first of all, the quality of a product and the consistency of his service. The most important thing, gentlemen, the supplier performance is not it's not only supplier, yalla means bring my stock. No, ship my stock, export, whatever it is. No, it should be a continuous collaboration with the supplier. The supplier, if we need to strategically think properly, to plan properly, suppliers and us as a supply chain. It has to be, the supplier has to be seen as a partner, no more a supplier. Yeah. And does your supply chain has an integrated pull to order between supply and demand? What is integrated pull to order? You need something, you can pull it from the supplier or from your manufacturing or whatever production in a very integrated way, so you can link your demand and supply. This is basically good for just-in-time stock. Yeah, just-in-time stock. Pull to order, not push to order. Yeah. This is where your supplier becomes a real strategic partner, because he can give you the normal stock, based on, you order, you get it in 1 month, or you need him, he has the capability of, giving you your stock based on your last minute order. This is very important, and especially now, because things are very, very fast. There's so many just in time. There's so many, I need it now, my supplier, okay, I don't know, deliver it quickly. Of course, the financial are fine between us, him and us, we calculated everything. But this is very, very important, especially in this fast moving environment. Yeah. And there's so many startups opening in the world, right? Startup. I'm not talking about fintechs or very high tech, not fintech startups. I'm talking about distribution startups, restaurants, F&B, small concepts and their coffee shops. Yeah, there's so many, and those startups, they don't have time to buy a warehouse or rent or hire people, or they need a proper supply chain, small team or whatever size of the team that is already in the mindset of quick, just in time, solid supplier base. You know what I mean? This is very, very important. The last one is, do you think your supply chain currently is geared to face those external variables? Is it really flexible, adaptable, resilient? Does it allow you to go far? Go far means expand, means be ready for new things. Disruptions is always there, but it's not like, yeah, we know about disruption, we did it, but did you experience it? You were geared up enough to face it? Do you have any success stories with unplanned disruptions? It can be a product disruption, it can be a lead time disruption. The product means it's not available anymore because there's a quality problem or manufacturing has a problem, or it's not regulation. This product is not allowed to come anywhere because the specs is different. Or the most important thing in supply chain planning is lead time. Lead time. Your lead time changed. It was 3 months or 2 months. Now it becomes 120 days. It's like crazy, So I cannot see this one down. Sorry. Because I have this thing. Yeah. Does your supply chain has a good pre-alert mechanism to its internal customers? Internal customers are who? Are finance, are marketing, are sales, right? These are internal customers. External customers, what I'm talking about, which is the end customer. In tough periods, in tough times of external disruptions and geopolitical problem, the story of Palestine, the war, a bit of Ukraine, all this, the first impact has on supply chain, as you know. And then when supply chain is impacted, sales are impacted. And then sales that are impacted means the profit of the company is impacted because there's no sales enough, things are getting costly. So do you have a good pre-alert mechanism? Do you inform your internal customers about, okay, what's happening? Do you meet with them? You do collaborate. Collaboration is very important. Do you have your dashboard ready all the time, your few KPIs, showing them what's happening, giving them the alerts, so they can also set expectations between themselves and with the customer? This is where your planning mindset gives you an idea of how performant you are as a supply chain. These 3-4 points that I'm talking about. It's okay.
So just a quick point. So very interesting, CJ. So I like your point that people need to be think in a planning mindset than only in operational mindsets. Okay. So currently in supply chain organizations, whether it would be manufacturing or warehousing or logistics, people pay more attention to operations, firefighting, and more onto like day-to-day operations. They spend very limited time on planning. Okay. So, what is your advice for the operational managers? And what is the importance of the planning for them? Because it's very important for them to know. And I want them to hear from you. who is
Okay.
the expert in supply chain planning.
Thank you. So I will give you a very live example. So I'm helping a company here, almost kind of working with them every day in Kuwait, and they are growing very fast. They are in the F&B world, yeah, food and beverage, and they kind of buy most of the things, 90%, 85% from the local market or from GCC, and they import few things from China, yeah. And they hired a new marketing department. Not marketing people. They are restructuring because they are going fast. They are growing big. So they have a good kind of department structure now. They have a proper marketing. They have operation more and more. Yeah. And they asked me to help them like 4 or 5 months ago and to work for them, with them, whatever. And then the first thing I did is teach them about supply chain. Simple. Supply chain planning. Supply chain is more advanced planning. Supply chain, something called reverse planning. They have a target date to start a new product or open a new restaurant. Okay, we reverse plan to go back to see what can supply chain do. So they start, honestly, after a few months, they start saying, okay, guys, supply chain, let's have a meeting. Okay, good. What do you think? You know what? We need a few more months to get this product. And now they are venturing into more marketing items. So they need something that takes time to get, from China, from maybe GCC, like specialized things, that in the world of marketing. Yeah, for example, how do I say it? Like a new product, a new box, a new colored box, a new printed pack, because they are marketing things. So they started feeling the importance of telling supply chain, guys, that's what do you think? So and we had to, or they had to say, guys, yeah, we can do this now. We can buy something from the local market. It's going to be more expensive, but if we need to go and import, we need that many months, right? We need that lead time, and especially now the logistics are slower than before. So yeah, the mindset has changed, starting to change. Not only operation, let's do it, but at the same time, let's think ahead in terms of planning. But it's not difficult. It's not, sorry, easy, Sheikh. Why? Because this company I'm helping, they are fast moving. They open stores. They have new menu items in the in the restaurant. Yeah, so we cannot tell them no. Only we can tell them no, but we will do this, or we will help you now, but the big picture is we need more time to bring a solid structure of supply at the best cost. Yeah, so it is a continuous collaboration with the operation, with the sales, to show them and to tell them, hey guys, supply chain is very important. Keep it up. Keep us inside your the discussions at early stages. And then, let's say it's a small dream of mine, to be honest, is for people to start talking supply chain language. People means marketing and sales, the CEO, the financial people. Start talking the language of supply chain, which is lead time, planning, sourcing, logistics. You know what I mean? It's a few keywords that you make sure, okay, everybody's on board, everybody's understanding this language, and everybody's doing planning together.
Great. Yep.
Now it's a bit more detailed. I think we have like 20 minutes. I'm gonna go a bit skim fast a bit. So your supply chain process for efficient planning. You have KPIs, right? And you have processes. Quickly, I'm not gonna go through it in detail. So the most important thing is customer order profiling. You should know how your customers are ordering. You should this data can come from sales, this data can come from marketing, or this data can come from your own supply chain data, because you're actually delivering, right? You're actually, if you have a warehouse, you're picking, packing, shipping to those customers. There is always 80-20, right? I believe people know 80-20, which is the Pareto rule. And I'm, by the way, Chris CZ is driven by 80-20. I live 80-20 because it works everywhere. It's amazing how things work like that. 80-20 means, 20% of your product represent 80% of your sales. 20% of your, let's say, how do you say? 80% of your problems, let's say, or headache, are represented by 20% of your issues. You might have 10 issues, but only 2 of them are so critical that are giving you 80% of the headache. Yeah. In the warehouse, 20% of your item are occupying let's say 60, 70, 80% of your space. You know what I mean? And to be able to have a solid distribution, or let's say supply chain planning, to make sure you are planning the right product, or you're planning to bring them at the right time, to put them in the right place in the warehouse, you know, because you have to mimic or mirror how the customers or how your orders are being picked to go to be delivered. It has to be matching the whole thing, right? And to reflect on what Sheikh said, is like operation or planning. Uh, sales will maybe focus more on their how to moving SKUs. You know, the SKUs that are very fast moving, maybe small margin, high margin, and everybody's focusing on this because they want to hit their target at the end of the month. You know, salespeople or marketing, and then target are hit by 80% of the time by those SKUs, right? So everybody's focusing on those SKUs and they forget other SKUs. That's why profiling is very important. Supply and demand metrics, of course, you have to, study your history. You can, use moving average, see the sales gap, seasonality. CPFR means collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. These are nice methodologies that makes you understand what sales is doing or how the customer is ordering. Yeah, so you should have all these numbers. And trust me, people, it doesn't have to be very sophisticated. You just have to use common sense. You can use history to predict the future, in terms of moving average. You can use your last months to predict the future if you have a very fast moving, volatile business. You don't have to have this super sophisticated forecasting methods, or unless you have a software. Maybe SAP has this IBP, integration business planning, integrated. Yeah, softwares can help you, but planning is something that depends on the actual person, the planner. Yeah. Availability, of course, very important. Again, you can see that it mimics your hot SKUs, your slow-moving SKUs. Everything has to be linked on your availability. You should track the KPI performance on your availability, like say, stock levels, how many months of cover you have, how many weeks of cover do you have, by bracket of my 80/20 SKUs, my hot SKUs, my all SKUs, my days of stock. This is very important. Supplier performance is something you have to always measure. It's a KPI. How the supplier is, his on time in full, his lead time deviation, the communication with your supplier. Are you sharing with him forecast? Does he commit to your forecast? Does he tell you, okay, I can have the supply capacity to give you the product? It's very, very important. Don't keep the data for you. Share it. Of course, this is just basics, spoilage, NPI, a non-performing inventory, aging inventory. This is very important because if you remember, I mentioned before that if the product is not doing well, marketing and sales have moved on to a new product, let's say. They forgot about the existing one. They said, okay, fine, we'll see how we can deplete it. But this will start building up into an aging inventory. And in the world of finance, aging inventory is a cost, is a provision they take it. They take provision for inventory aging. The finance wants to charge the supply chain a fee, not a fee, like a financial fee or something, or provision, to tell them, hey guys, you cannot just keep a lot of aging inventory in your warehouse. It becomes a dead capital, not working capital. And one more thing which is important, because of the world globalized, deglobalized or globalized, you have to see how much you can get from the local market, from the local region. You don't have to go international all the time. You might have local manufacturers, local suppliers who can give you the same thing you want at a very good quality, just nearby. Nearby means what? Means maybe it's going to be more expensive because, China is kind of the cheapest place to get things. But if this premium cost you put on the local removes removes all the challenges, the planning challenges of lead time, delays, logistics, keeping high stock in your warehouse, because you have a long lead time to import things from 2-3 months in terms of lead time. Yeah, so you always have to see how much of your products can be done locally, can be manufactured, imported, sourced locally, and how much you're doing internationally. And maybe you hear in the news that since COVID or now, some countries are focusing on how to, how do you say this? Boost their internal economy. See what they can do locally, become sustainable and self-sufficient, internally, not having to go and import everything. But of course, you cannot do that because some things are only made outside your country, like in China. Some things are only made in Europe, let's say. But think about local. Local saves you a lot of planning risks, you know. Think about it just like that. I'm gonna skim through those quickly. This is the processes. You have to always review your supply and demand. You have to always do a customer order profiling, as I mentioned before. Study. You have to always check it out. What's happening? What are the things that are selling? There's something called pairing. Which item, which product is always demanded with the other product? Pairing together. You know, this helps you in planning your logistics and your warehouse and your the warehouse layout. Supplier performance is critical. I say it again and again. Your supplier is your key partner. Don't let him be only a supplier where you send him a purchase order. You always have to check your inventory health and the Pareto rule of priority management. You know, by the way, if you take the course of Six Sigma, one of the statistics they do is Pareto for priority management. Yeah, means which issue you have to focus on now as a priority, and it will remove 80% of your problem, for example. And then the last one, which is local versus international assessment. Internal external collaboration. Time is 10 minutes.
You have 10.
Okay, so you have to do your homework. You have to do the analysis of marketing and sales. Yeah, you can use simple formulas like moving average. What I always say to people, or I'm using it now, is month to date. You can see it here, month to date bias. What is that? You might have 4 months of history, 3 months of history. You're assessing how much is your sales consumption, but you forget to look at your current month. How is your current month's behavior? This is good for fast moving companies, or for companies who are expanding and growing. Maybe regional, maybe they're opening more stores, more restaurants or more outlets, whatever. People have to look at what's happening this month, my months to date, compared to what happened in my history of 3-4 months. Because sometimes the months to date tells you that, hey, there's a change in demand. There's something weird happening. There's an increase. There's a new menu item people are loving. So you have to think now what's happening, and you adapt your supply planning, what you want to order for the near future, whatever, based on your MTD, month to date. Yeah. Not only look at the history of 1 year or 6 months, or always keep the MTD next to the history to see which one you decide to use. Customer profiling, as I mentioned, and then IBP, integrated business planning. What is that? Simply, you have to make sure your supply and demand analysis is always there. Okay, you have to always put the lead time constraint. I think he asked this question, Sheikh, operation or planning. Sometimes in some companies until now, they forget that there's something called frozen forecast, frozen period. You ordered the goods 3 months ago, or you ordered them to come in 3 months. Sales will deviate during the first 2 months. People have to understand that frozen forecast is important. The plan you have done in the previous past, which is happening now, or now until the future, the deviation up and down should be always monitored, because sales and marketing and finance should understand, sorry, I might go out of stock or I might go overstock, right? So this is very important, because integrated means your supply chain your sales understand, your marketing understand, your finance understand, everybody's collaborating and integrated in the same business planning. Yeah, and that's it. And then there's something called SNOP, but I prefer to call the SNOE, Supply and Operation Execution. Why? Because it's a shorter horizon of the SNOP. SNOP, they talk about 6 months, 1 year, 2 years planning, right? And they review it every month. But SNOE, in the world of supply chain now, where everything is fast, okay, the world is globalized in a way they want to send everything everywhere. People want to buy and sell everything from everywhere. You need short-term horizon control, right? So it defines how you and sales and finance are always in touch together on the short term. Short term can be 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months maybe. Yeah, you have to keep things real. Keep things adaptable to meet your customer demand and match supply. Your supply have to match your demand. Simple. You want to work on a 3 months horizon because this is your lead time. Work on 3 months horizon. Don't go 6 months, 8 months. Because what you control today now will just be a better control tomorrow and next month, right? When you do something good now and you're real now, tomorrow is going to be just another better day, or next week, right? The sales and operation execution. So what it is, who's supposed to be here? Marketing and sales supposed to be there. Suppliers are supposed to be there, and it's monthly or bi-weekly, right? And it can be an ad hoc meeting on decision-making needs. Means when you need to take a decision, you bring everybody on board, you meet about it, you talk about it, and you execute. Okay, this kind of short-term frequency of meetings keeps the link and the respect and the understanding of supply chain by all other departments. If you remember, silos or integrated. So it keeps people involved, and it keeps the non-supply chain people departments talk the supply chain language. You know, just keeping having the same vocabulary. And anyway, there's so many things here. Teams and cross-functional, your inventory and warehousing are involved, your supply planning and sales marketing are together. Finance is if needed, because if there's a new project, new item, there's a kickoff. And of course, the most important thing, gentlemen, your data analyst, which is basically your supply chain people, are there, because this is a meeting where you talk about numbers. You just talk about numbers and projection and planning.
So, Chris, it's very interesting. Is it a sales and it is called like a sales and operations execution, or it is a supply
Execution.
and operation? Is it a supply and
Supply.
operations execution?
Supply.
Supply. Okay. So, what is the agenda for this? Like, and who is leading this meeting?
Yeah. So first of all, supply chain is leading it. Okay. The supply chain head, whoever, and his team. You know, you bring people from planning, you bring people from the warehousing and execution, procurement, of course. Okay, and you meet with sales and finance. You meet, like, I don't know, every 2 weeks, as I mentioned, every 1 month. Okay, and you talk about execution, not about planning. You know,
Okay.
means because things are fast, things are moving fast. Yeah. Um, and then you bring data, like, you know, new product, what's happening, where's the supplier, what's the lead time, when is it coming, you know, or it's an existing product but it's not selling enough, you know, so you put inventory visibility, aging information, near expiry information, those kind of things. Yeah. Or you can do capacity information, which is you don't have space, you know, in your supply chain, in your warehouse, in your distribution, right? I'm talking about, you know, locally what's happening in your local supply chain, let's say. Yeah. And then the purpose, so who is coming, you can see it. And what happens, you talk about, again, inventory warehousing, you talk about supply planning. And why I mentioned supply, not sales, because your sales is demand, right? And your supply is to match your demand. So it's supply. At the end of the day, it's still supply planning, right? It's not demand planning only. Supply planning should meet your demand. Simple as that. People sometimes get lured or confused with, demand planners. I have demand planners. I have a software that gives me super sophisticated algorithm. But at the end of the day, if your supply doesn't match your demand, nothing happening. So it's supply planning. And supply start with supplier. You know, the supplier have to be on board. This is where your question before, Sheikh, about, do you think the world, globally, people are thinking strategically and planning? When suppliers and customers talk the same language, things flow better.
So, in this supply and operations execution meetings, so we talk about like orders and what are the key constraints in supply
Yes.
or in the operations,
Yes.
and then any challenges,
Yes.
we take actions. So
Yes.
it runs. For example, if you are doing your S&OP on a month-on-month basis, and maybe supply
Yeah.
and operations execution, you do it twice a month. Okay,
Yes.
with the idea of this executing this S&OP plan. That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Because as I said, S&OP plan, you know, it's the yearly plan, it's the finance and the budget, the cost saving and everything. But execution means now, means short term, means keep things real, stay down to earth, right? I believe in one thing, to everybody. You have a goal, which is at the end of the year, I want to reach 3% increase in sales or whatever. Okay. Yeah, but this is the goal there. But you have to do it small steps, you know, small meetings, execution meetings. And then you will only reach that goal in a more comfortable way. but you every week, every month, where we are, but you execute every day, every week. Don't like think, okay, the end of the year only that goal, because that goal is going to be there all the time. That strategic goal, that company goal, but you have to reach it in step by step. They say, what do you say? Surely, sorry, so slowly but surely, right? Slow steps, small steps, but sure steps. Okay.
Perfect.
A supplier partnership, PPP, which is process, persistency, and sorry, I don't know what PPP is. I will find it out. I put it there, but I don't know. I forgot. So supplier partnership. Okay. Qualitative. So how do you assess your supplier and your efficiencies? Uh, Qualitative, service and product. Quantitative means on time and full. That's how you assess your suppliers. And communication, that customer service data exchange. Your supplier performance matrix, it will, if you have a system or it can be in Excel, you monitor your quantitative, qualitative, and communication with the supplier, the efficiency or the customer service. You will have a matrix of who are your best suppliers, who are your average suppliers, and who are your laggards, suppliers that are slowing you down somehow. And you can have quarterly or biannual review with them. I did this in 3 companies. Let's say it's not easy to do because the qualitative or the communication, customer service data exchange, you cannot measure it in a system. This is emails and this is data exchange, but it's a subjective thing that you can put, okay, this supplier, we have a good communication with them, they send us your data, we send them our data, forecast and supply and all that. And then this is where you will assess your suppliers and you will have a performance matrix on them. And this is where you can start selecting who to work with. Everybody wants to come and sell you. Everybody is hammering supply chain, every supplier. But you need to work with the fewer ones who can give you the right expectations. The collaboration has to be in a partnership spirit. It has to be in a partnership spirit. I use it all the time. The supplier is my partner, because when a partner means what? Means he's investing into your supply chain, right? He's investing into your business. What's his investment is, of course, he's going to sell you. You're going to buy from him more and more, let's say. But his investing means if you cannot grow if the supplier doesn't grow with you. And the company I'm helping now here, they are growing fast, opening outlets. And I always tell suppliers, hey, suppliers, I'm growing. If you don't grow with me, nothing works. So this is how you put some responsibility on the supplier to feel himself as a partner investor in it. Yeah. And then you talk about inventory levels with your suppliers. You talk about lead time. You talk about, pull to order, GIT, those terminologies, inventory turns. It's better not to keep inventory. That's the most important thing the most liked thing by the financial team. At the end of the day, your balance sheet have to be closed. If you have a lot of inventory, you have to pay suppliers, right? The CCC is cash conversion cycle. Maybe some of them know this. It's your days of inventory outstanding, days of sales outstanding, and minus days of payable outstanding. What is that? When do you cash your money from customers? When do you pay your suppliers, and how much stock you have in hand? If you have a lot of stock on hand, then you're not converting your cash into paying suppliers. You're stuck. Your cash flow is very slow, right? You have a problem in cash flow. Yeah. So this is also a language with the supplier. Supplier can give you more terms, more, extended terms to pay him. Your customers might not, if you have cash customers, which is the easiest one. If you have only restaurants or you have a supermarket, it's a cash customer place, right? You cash the same day or next day. Your supplier can
Please,
give you 60 days.
yeah,
Sorry.
please check your time. Okay, so we have,
Yeah,
Mhm.
time is bad. Okay, so and then there's something called private public partnerships. Now a lot of in DCC, because of regulations, because people wants to work with the public sector and private sector. This is what this is keep always we need to keep see what the government is doing for the country, what the private sector and the public sector are working together, right? For example, Dubai keeps on, digitizing things, making things the smooth import process is there. So you have to keep your supply chain involved with what's happening in the market. So you can benefit from new regulations, new laws that are happening, new trade agreement. For example, there's something called CEPA, which has been between India and UAE to facilitate import and export, to facilitate the fees, to make it cheaper to import between India and UAE. Keep it there if you're working globally. Just keep the eye of what's happening, because you never know when you can benefit from a new regulations that happened. Gives you faster information, gives you access to services from government that came in just now to help the private sector work better. And of course, if you're working globally, those things, which is private-public partnerships, PPPs, can help your business benefit from that and become more of an agile business. I think I can stop here if you have any questions because of time. I still have a couple of more slides, but it's fine if you want.
Yeah, just you can just quickly scan through it. It's very
Okay,
important
so
to
yeah, quickly, sorry, this is a quick one here. What is that? This is a tool I use. So first of all, look at this is supply planning techniques. How do you forecast supply and planning? This is, example. This is a live sheet, by the way. This is your history, and this is how much you're transferring out or how much you're selling. I always tell people, look at your min and max, your maximum sales, your minimum sales during a period. This gives you indication on if you had a peak, or a drop. Keep this in mind. And if you can see here on the right, there's something called instinct judgment month to date. I created this tool for this company I'm helping. Keep your months to date, current month's sales or transfers as an indication compared to the history. You can see, for example, this item until today is represent 127% of your history. So it means there's a change in behavior. There's a change in pattern. So you have to take this into consideration when you order a new quantity from the supplier. Okay, and then people work with safety stock formulas. Safety stock is, there's a formula that takes all the deviation from your actual and forecast sales, but you can keep it simple. Your safety stock is simply when you can get your stock fast from the supplier, what's the maximum delay you can get from him. Let's say locally you're buying things from the regional, you have 1 week of delivery or 2 weeks of delivery. Your safety stock should be in between those two times, okay, times your average sales. So you always have a safety stock. Yeah. And the more your sales go up and down, the more you're going to have more safety stock, because you have to be safe. But it goes back to lead time. Make sure you can stretch your lead time, bring it smaller and smaller. That's why if you can go local, not international, you have more control on your lead time. It's easy. Supply chain techniques, only supply planning. Choose your month of average, how many months you want to go in history. Tuned it by a fresh trend from month to date. See if your current month has a different trend than your past. Put your seasonality, if there's any seasonality, of course. Watch your min max weight for highlight. What is that? See if there's something in your demand, max and min in the past. See what's happening, and then generate those numbers based on a simple formula, and go to your sales and talk about it and challenge them, and then agree on a number and move forward. Yeah, this is purely how do you do supply planning for quantities. Time phase planning, TC, LTSS. What is TC? Target. How much you have to buy stock to supply stock? Your target cover, you want to keep, let's say, 1 month of stock in your warehouse. Not keep it. This is your average. Your lead time is X 2 weeks, and your safety stock is whatever you want to have, depending on your formula. So this is simply supply is your supplier chain. If you have strong partnership with your internal external parties, and planning is your lead time. This is in a simple way. Supply chain planning is supplier. You have proper collaboration with your sales and marketing and external and internal parties, and then planning is your lead time. Lead time is everything. You know what I mean. Lead time is just everything. It defines how much stock you keep in your warehouse. It depends how fast you can be to support sales, to bring products, and it also helps finance to be kind of happy or not happy. Finance to see how much stock you're keeping as a safety stock and working capital. It's all about lead time. You can shorten it, then everything should be smoother. Yeah. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
it.
fantastic session, Chris. It's so much information
Yeah.
and knowledge. Due to lack of time, we take up the questions offline. Okay. So if there is any questions, we just post to you. And thank you very much for joining in the morning session. Okay. So it's
Thank you.
really a knowledgeable and so very interesting. I would like to have more detailed discussion on these topics. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Sorry I was rushing at the end, but again, keep things simple. That's the most important thing. Don't go over sophisticated. Be real today, and it will only be, I believe, be a good today, good week. Next week is going to be even better, right? And keep the planning mind with your other departments. That's very, very important.